Chapter 10: Gravity and the Unification of the Forces. In the preceding chapter, there was a brief discussion of gravitational mass 1 and gravitational field 0 as the 1 and 0 responsible for the gravitational attraction force. All forces of attraction result from this same principle. Only the geometrical shape of antimatter holes and the matter that fills and empties these holes will be different. Why the sun and planets are attracted to each other can now be stated with greater precision. The attraction and motion between astronomical bodies parallels the earlier example of attraction between an empty, thirsty human body and a body of water. The human attraction of moving an empty container toward water and to moving the water into the empty stomach follows the same binary principle that regulates astronomical bodies. The attraction between ones and zeros explains why women and men are attracted to each other, as well as why the Earth and Sun are attracted to each other. The 0 to 1 and 1 to 0 attraction force with its positional goal is a part of all motion. Physicists have identified 4 forces in nature. These forces are referred to as weak, strong, electromagnetic, and gravity. The problem in unifying these different forces is finding their common denominator. The 1 and 0 is the common foundation of these 4 universal forces. The forces of the weak, strong, electromagnetic, and gravity can be related and explained, unified, with the 2 forces of repulsion, 0 on 0 and 1 on 1, and attraction, 0 to 1 and 1 to 0. Only these 2 forces are necessary to identify and explain universal cause and effect. Gravity is said to exhibit only an attraction force. Scientists have failed to include gravity as part of the electromagnetic force because gravity does not appear to demonstrate a force of repulsion, which is part of the electromagnetic force. However, all resistance to motion is part of the repulsion force. The one's attraction to the 0 pathway is guided by the repulsion force. The 0 pathway is only defined by areas where the 1 can both move, attraction force, and not move, repulsion force. The information of where an object cannot go provides the object the information of where it can go. The weak force, the strong force, the electromagnetic force, and the gravitational force are all combinations of different structures exhibiting emission and absorption by using attraction and repulsion. Using the human concept in describing action other than human action is aimed at demonstrating that all objects, including humans, derive goals and a purpose through an awareness of the force of attraction and repulsion. All systems, human and non-human, have motion because of an attraction force to fill their spaces. Humans may have more versatility in their choice of zeros and ones for reaching positional fills, but nevertheless, this is the reason for all universal action. The universe is a structured series of switches that oscillate between the on switch of absorption and the off switch of emission. The solar system's planetary emission with its positional absorption goal of the sun's center uses attraction and repulsion forces in directing this planetary motion. Nature's organic and inorganic structures use attraction and repulsion in their emissional motion leading to positional absorption. This is how objects know to choose the best possible path. The reason objects unerringly know how to pick the optimum trajectory has always amazed physicists. Sensitivity to the force of repulsion is reached by the presence of the attraction force, and conversely. They are constant companions in emission and absorption events. Humans use the repulsion force in all their actions. Gravity's attraction and the resulting motional events are not possible without repulsion. In his In Search of the Big Bang, John Gribbin explains the problem of determining the difference between gravitational mass and inertial mass. In Newton's second law, force equals mass times acceleration. The mass involved represents the amount of a body's resistance to changes in motion, its inertial mass. The gravitational force between two objects also depends on mass. Gravity is also proportional to mass, and there is no way to distinguish between the gravitational mass and the inertial mass of an object. Why would these two masses be identical? After all, one represents the ability of a body to reach out and pull on other bodies, while the other represents the resistance of a body to being pushed by other bodies. Logically, they could be quite different from one another. In the above, the inference is that gravity is the mass of a body reaching out and pulling on the mass of another body. This is another example of tunnel vision narrowing the view of nature to only the physical. To use the term bodies in this context only makes sense if it is understood that bodies include both the physical, 1, and the non-physical, 0. Gravitational mass, 1, can only be defined and understood with the framework of the gravitational field 0, and conversely. To understand the difference between gravitational mass and inertial mass requires an introduction to the concept of the 0 as it relates to the 1 of mass. The gravitational mass of two different bodies may appear to be mass pulling upon mass, but the appearance is deceptive. Instead, it is the ones of each body reaching out and pulling on the corresponding zeros of each body, and at the same time the zeros of each body pulling on the corresponding ones of each body. This attraction force involves all the structures within these bodies. The zeros of both bodies are attracted to the ones of both bodies, and the ones of both the zeros of both. By involving all the zeros and ones of atomic structure, it necessarily includes the strong, weak, and electromagnetic forces as components of the gravitational force. The force of the gravitational attraction between two bodies represents the matter, 1, and the antimatter, 0, attraction between both bodies. Gravitation is not noticed in general until extremely large numbers of zeros and ones are interacting. Electromagnetic attraction is part of gravitational attraction. The repulsive and attractive effects that are part of electrical phenomena are also part of gravitation. Inertia is an example of repulsion. Inertial mass represents the resistance one-on-one of the mass of one body to being pushed by the mass of another body. Gravitational mass is mass that also has inertial repulsion and is an example of how repulsion is a part of gravitational attraction. A body's inertial mass only has reference to the repulsion of a mass on mass, one-on-one, but inertia is also involved with the repulsion of non-mass to non-mass, 0 on 0. In future discussions, inertial mass will be referred to with the understanding that the inertia of bodies involves both the one-on-one and the 0 on 0 of the repulsion force. To refer only to inertial mass, one-on-one, is another failure to see that inertia and its resistance to motion are part of both the 1 and the 0. Inertia represents the repulsion effects of both one-on-one confrontation and a zero-on-zero confrontation. Gravitational mass 1 cannot be identified until we associate it with a gravitational field 0. Gravitational mass and inertial mass cannot be understood until each is properly related to another concept to be explained. In contrast, contemporary physics has intellectually isolated the mass of gravity and the mass of inertia by concluding there is only physical matter to explain and comprehend. In short, mass is all there is to identify. However, mass shows its inertial repulsion and gravitational effects by a different relationship. Inertial mass is one discrete mass in its resistance 1:1 to another discrete mass. Gravitational mass is mass attracted to its field 0. Gravitational mass can be correctly identified when it is a part of the corresponding gravitational field. The interdependence of mass and field creates the force of attraction. The two concepts of mass and field explain and identify the force of attraction. The one of mass wants to fill the zero of the field as the zero of the field wants to be filled. All motion is for this purpose. Gravitational mass can now be defined as the attraction of mass to its field. The same mass, that is, gravitational mass, also has inertial properties of repulsion. Mass has the inertia of resistance when it is confronted by mass. Inertial mass is created by mass 1 resisting mass 1, and gravitation is created by its attraction 1:0 and 0:1 between mass and its field 0. Inertia is the force of repulsion due to the impossibility of a 1 occupying a 1 and a 0 occupying a 0. Inertia is an excellent example of the necessity of using the binary 0 and 1 approach for understanding all phenomena of nature. Attraction, with its 0 and 1 availability for motion, is not possible without repulsion. Repulsion and attraction work together as a team. For an object to define a pathway, the object must define where it can and cannot go. Motion through attraction is defined by non-motion through repulsion. Non-motion through repulsion is defined by motion through attraction. Inertial mass is created by the impossible repulsion force, where mass confronts mass. Gravitational mass is created by the possible attraction force, when mass 1 has the availability of its field 0. Impossible 0 on 0 and 1 on 1 defines possible 1:0 and 0:1, and possible defines impossible. Electrical repulsion of rubbing the silk cloths is part of the gravitational effects because electromagnetic effects are a natural part of gravity. To show the repulsion relationship of two silk cloths in massive bodies, it would be necessary to somehow concentrate the 0 on 0 and 1 on 1 of massive bodies in the same way as in the example of the silk cloths. The size of planetary objects would make this difficult, but not impossible in principle. Humans incorporate repulsion into every act of motion, and their machines use the repulsion of inertial resistance to propel humans in the direction of force. The gravitational effect of weight is a combination of gravitational attraction and the inertial force of repulsion. Nature does not allow an attraction force and its resulting motion to occur without the use of repulsion. All motion, including planetary motion around the stars, uses both forces, attraction and repulsion. How do objects know the path of motion? All objects detect where they can go because the borders of the path of motion define what does not allow motion. And yet, why is it that humans focus on what attracts them while never realizing that what repels them is what guides them to what attracts them in the first place? Where we cannot go and do not want to go is always very much a part of where we do want to go. Everything comes down to the ability to comprehend these two forces, attraction and repulsion, in order to use them to our advantage. These principles of repulsion and attraction are part of the motion of all objects. How many structures use and understand these forces better than humans? Newton's equation that force equals mass times acceleration, F equals ma, shows that force is actually a composite of separate forces. The mass within the equation involves the inertial force that is part of repulsion and the acceleration of mass that is part of the force of attraction. Mass and its resistance to motion transfer motion, energy, from one body to another. This transfer is an energy input leading to an energy output. The output of energy is acceleration. Acceleration is emission, which occurs because input through inertial mass leads to output. Where motion cannot go is necessary for the transfer of motion to where it can go through an acceleration process. The inertial makeup of mass 1 and non-mass 0 results in the repulsion force and is used by the attraction force in reaching motion, acceleration. This demonstrates the necessity of opposites. Resistance is necessary to reach non-resistance, and non-resistance is necessary to reach resistance. Emission to absorption and absorption to remission are interplays between these two forces. The inertia of repulsion is used to push off and start acceleration in a specific direction, and the inertia of repulsion is used to stop motion in arrival at a specific location. Repulsion leads to emission through attraction, and emission leads to absorption through the use of repulsion. Repulsion is used to start motion and to stop motion. All four forces, and others that may exist, can be explained with the repulsion and attraction. This concurs with Newton's reasons for believing there are two forces. Particles of bodies are either mutually attracted towards one another and cohere in regular figures, or are repelled and recede from one another. All attractions between objects use attraction and repulsion. An awareness of the binary 1 and 0 that form the force of attraction and repulsion will enable humans to harness forces for the development of clean energy and a safer planet on which to live. Electrical energy is largely non-polluting and uses the one of the electron and its attraction to its field, 0. Electrical phenomena involve the use of ones and zeros surrounding the nucleus. To advance human harnessing of nature, it is necessary to directly involve the ones and zeros of the nucleus. We must take control of the nucleus by disrupting the normal balance it has between matter, 1, and antimatter, 0, states. This can be accomplished by creating a large potential between the matter and antimatter states of the nucleus. A practical strategy would be to isolate the nucleus into more empty antimatter states and more filled matter states. Then, with more powerful combinations of repulsion states leading to greater motion through attraction, humans will have gained the use of a powerful new energy source. This will provide a clean source of motion energy, similar in its cleanness to electrical energy. Such a change in technological advancement would be more profound than the earlier change brought about by the broad use of electrical energy. This would enable the efficient exploration, utilization, and population of the habitable satellites of the solar system. With such an efficient energy source, the next venture would be to explore our galaxy. The possibility for our species to eventually become a significant presence in the universe would be enhanced. There is, however, an impediment to such lofty dreams. We are now standing on the threshold of our own destruction. The planet's hospitality may have already doomed. Already the problems created by our solutions of the past are screaming for new solutions. This is the principle that solutions lead to new problems, which require new solutions to enable structures to continue their evolution. These new solutions hinge upon our ability to recognize the profound impact of the zeros upon the ones of the physical world. Comprehension of the zero's function in nature is paramount to solving our major problems. The zero is an integral and powerful part of the forces of nature. The possibilities for advancement through the use of nuclear attraction and repulsion forces are large. This could provide protection for property, persons, and nations from predatory action. These ideas are an approach to solutions for our present problems. This will not be easy, but seeing a new and better direction is an important start. The beginning of any journey starts with seeing the goal and then constructing the path. There are always enough problems to keep us challenged. It is better to go down swinging at a problem than go down without swinging at all. Defining our most important problems is requisite to finding their solutions. Kaluza-Klein theory. In 1919, Theodore Kaluza developed a remarkable addition to relativity theory. Kaluza decided to see what might emerge by adding a fifth dimension to the equations of Einstein's general theory of relativity. These are the same equations involved with the interdependent gravitational mass and the gravitational field. Einstein only dealt with 4 dimensions, 3 of space and 1 of time. Kaluza's addition of a fifth dimension produced surprising results. The same set of gravitational equations occurred as in Einstein's 4 dimensions, but by adding a fifth dimension, an additional set of equations emerged. Maxwell's equations of electromagnetic phenomena. Through the mathematical addition of a fifth dimension, gravity and electromagnetism were unified. The Kaluza-Klein theory supports the conclusions reached here that gravity includes all the forces associated with nature's structure of zeros and ones. Gravitational mass and its corresponding field have their origin in the zeros and ones of the atomic world. Electromagnetism on a universal scale, the scale of stars and planets, is part of the gravitational expression. In curving, shaping, and warping the space of the gravitational field, Einstein seems to make reference to the space surrounding and outside the physical borders of the surface of large bodies involved with gravitational mass. However, the conclusion here is that the space inside these massive bodies must also be part of the gravitational field. The zeros and ones associated with electromagnetism, weak force, strong force, and any other zeros and ones that may create some undiscovered forces are all combined together in the gravitational expression. At the atomic level, there is almost all space. If a nucleus the size of a pea could be placed in the middle of a football stadium, the first electron orbit would circle above the top row. This relatively small amount of nuclear mass, with its electrons, shapes, curves, and organizes the space inside bodies such as stars and planets. The space external to this internal space, like the space between the Earth and Sun, is an extension of the internal organized space. The zero is always the connecting principle to the physical parts of nature. The farther two bodies are from each other, the greater the space, external and internal, associated with mass. The increase of the zero with the same mass decreases spatial organization with a result of less attraction between zeros and ones. With a decrease in distance, there is less space with respect to the amount of mass. This increases spatial structuring and results in an increase in the attraction force between zeros and ones. It is the zero that connects two distant bodies that makes the electromagnetic zero and ones of each body a part of the overall phenomenon of gravity. Gravity is relatively weak because most of the zeros and ones within atomic structures are balanced. The two silk cloths show this tendency to return to a balance after the imbalance caused from rubbing. After the balance returns, the cloths come apart. The zeros and ones of the two cloths, however, are still attracted to each other, but not strongly enough to cause motion away from repulsion or toward attraction each other. To show gravity and its attraction leading in motion, it is necessary to bring together great numbers of atoms that make up the zeros and ones of planetary and galactic systems. Gravity is the total overall attraction and repulsion in the atomic world, of which electromagnetism is only a part. The zeros and ones that are part of the strong force, weak force, and all structures are also involved with gravitational effects. Gravity has been the mysterious force that seems to resist all attempts to unify it with other known forces. The reason for this difficulty of unification is that gravity is a combined expression between common zeros and ones for all of nature's bodies. Gravity is the total communication of attraction and repulsion between all the corresponding ones and zeros within each gravitational body. For humans, gravity is the ones of the atoms of the human body attracted to the corresponding zeros of atoms of the earth, and the zeros of the human body attracted to the corresponding ones of the earth. And also simultaneously, the earth's zeros and ones are attracted in like manner to the zeros and ones of the human body. Gravitational attraction is between related matter 1 and antimatter 0 states. In particle physics, physicists usually do not directly observe antimatter states because particle collisions destroy the spatial organization that identifies antimatter to these expensive machines, such as particle accelerators, remove the spatial relationships that are an integral part of all objects. Physicists have not observed all of the different kinds of particles their mathematics have predicted. Quarks are part of these yet to be observed predictions. It may be that such predictions are a part of antimatter 0 states. If this is the case, then they will never be seen because they represent spatial organization that is destroyed in the part phase as the particle accelerations in these experimental accelerations reach impact. Whatever piece of the particle is observed, as a result of its artificial destruction, it completely changes the previous geometry of the zero. Particle physicists will begin to solve the anomalies of particle physics when they recognize the concept that all objects, large and small, have both a zero identity and a one entity. There must be a paradigm shift from this concentration on the physical to a concentration on both the physical and the non-physical. A universe of antimatter is waiting for human identification and utilization. Space 0, time 1. The term space-time is another expression of our binary 1 and 0 universe. The term space is made up of the three dimensions that are defined by the physical that uses this space to reach absorption. Time represents the physical filling of space through absorption. At absorption, the physical of the absorbed object is within the stationary zero defined by the physical framework of the absorber. Positional time is then obtained by measurements, definitions of the object's position through its relationship to the geometrical height, width, and depth of the non-physical. The one is necessary to understand the zero, and the zero is necessary to understand the one. This is why space and time are irrevocably joined together. The tick of the time of absorption is only possible through the physical's use emission of the spatial medium. Space allows time, and time allows space. The fourth dimension of time, position of the physical, defines the three of space, and the three of space define the fourth dimension of time. Space-time can be considered in only one dimension in the sense that space and time are dependent upon each other and joined together in a single and whole concept. Space 0 and time 1 are separate in their contrasting nature, but they are joined in their dependency on one another. Is it possible that the equations of Einstein's general theory of relativity indicate space-time as a single-dimensional concept, and Kaluza's dimensional addition indicates another space-time dimension? Is it possible that there is a single space-time dimension for the macrocosm of gravity and another space-time dimension for the microcosm of electromagnetism? This would indicate that another time dimension is involved at the electromagnetic level with the same three dimensions of space. When Kaluza added a fifth dimension, it was an addition of a new time dimension instead of an addition of a new space dimension. Different time dimensions are involved with the same three dimensions of space. How many more dimensions extend microcosmically inward and macrocosmically outward? Particle physicists contend that the extremely short life, positional time beats, of particles is for them a lifetime. They go through a lifetime of emission to absorption events within a time frame that lasts only a few microseconds for us. It appears that different dimensions may be involved with time rather than space.